can fly.
What is up, guys, and welcome to another video of Fly with Rusty. And today I'm going to discuss a few things about the upcoming update 1.85. Now, this is a moment that a lot of you has been waiting for, and myself as well. Actually, since the very beginning that I started playing War Thunder, I was hoping for a new tier jets or supersonic jets, especially a few specific jets. Right, but I've created a little video, so let's take a look at that. NATO reporting name Farmer is a Soviet second generation single-seat twin-jet engine fighter aircraft. It was the first Soviet production aircraft capable of supersonic speeds in level flight. The comparable US Century series fighter was the North American F-100 Super Sabre, although the MiG-19 would primarily oppose the more modern McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II and the Republic F-105 Thunder Chief over North Vietnam. And according to certain specifications in the Vietnam War, the MiG-19 shot down a F-104C Starfighter, two A-6 Intruders, an F-4D Phantom II, a F-4E, and a F-4D. Moving along to the Sabre, the North American F-100 Super Sabre is an American supersonic jet fighter aircraft that served with the United States Air Force from 1954 to 1971 and with the Air National Guard until 1979. The first of the Century series of the USAF jet fighters, it was the first USAF jet fighter capable of supersonic speed in level flight. The F-100 was designed by North American Aviation as a higher performance follow-on to the F-86 Sabre air superiority fighter. Adapted as a fighter bomber, the F-100 was applied by the Mach 2 class F-105 Thunder Chief for strike missions over North Vietnam. The F-100 flew extensively over South Vietnam as the Air Force's primary close air support jet until being replaced by the more efficient subsonic LTV A-7 Course Air 2. And I'm very sure we can look forward to that as well, hopefully. Moving along to the Gloster Javelin. The Gloster Javelin is a twin-engine T-tail delta-wing subsonic night and all-weather interceptor aircraft that served with Britain's Royal Air Force from the mid-1950s until the late 1960s. The last aircraft designed to bear the Gloster name, it was introduced in 1956 after a lengthy development period and received several upgrades during its lifetime to its engines, radar and weapons, which included the de Havilland Firestreak air-to-air missile. The Javelin was succeeded by its interceptor role by the English Electric Lightning, a supersonic aircraft capable of flying at more than double the Javelin's top speed, which was introduced into the RAF only a few years later. The Javelin served for much of its life alongside the Lightning. The last Javelins were withdrawn from operational service in 1968 following the introduction of successively more capable versions of the Lightning. Now, I have noticed questions online about which one of these aircraft are going to be the best, and it's a very good question. I myself was wondering, although I can tell you now it's probably going to be the MiG. But let's look at a few of the specifications and we can compare the three of the aircraft. So we'll start with the Javelin. The maximum had a maximum speed of 610 knots at sea level, which is 710 miles per hour or 1,140 kilometers per hour, with a range of 954 miles or 1,530 kilometers. With the Sabre, it had a maximum speed of 750 knots, which is 864 miles per hour or 1,390 kilometers per hour, or the equivalent of Mach 1.3. Okay, so let's look at the MiG. Maximum speed Mach 1.35, which is 1,452 kilometers an hour or 900 miles per hour at 10,000 meters or 33,000 feet. So that's not at sea level. It had a range of 1,390 kilometers, where the Sabre had a range of 1,733 nautical miles, which is 3,210 kilometers. Apologies, it is late at night and I am tired. But the range is irrelevant to War Thunder because of maps. The MiG had a service ceiling of 17,500 meters, which is 57,400 feet, where the Sabre had a service ceiling of 50,000 feet, which is 15,000 meters, and the Javelin had a service ceiling of 52,800 feet, which is 15,865 meters. The Javelin had a rate of climb of 5,400 feet per minute, which is 27.45 meters per second. The Sabre had a rate of climb of 22,400 feet per minute, which is 114 meters per second. Can that be correct? That is insane. And the MiG had a rate of climb of 180 meters per second, well, I suppose, okay, which is 35,000 feet per minute. The MiG had a wing loading of 353.3 kilometers per square meter, which is 72.4 pounds per square feet, whereas the Sabre had a wing loading of 72.1 pounds per square feet, which is 352 kilograms per square meter, and the Javelin had a wing loading of 34 pounds per square feet, which is 166 kilograms per square meter. The Javelin had a thrust to weight ratio of 0.79. The Sabre had a lift to drag ratio of 13.9, and the MiG, I'm asleep here, had a thrust to weight ratio of 0.86. Right, so let's look at the armament. The Javelin came with 430mm Aden cannons, and it was capable of carrying up to 4 de Havilland Fire Street air-to-air missiles. The Sabre had 420mm Pontiac M39A1 revolver cannon with 200 rounds RPG. I'm not sure what RPG stands for. Missiles, it could take 4 AIM-9 Sidewinder or 2 AGM-12 bullpup, or 2 or 4 LAU 3A 2.75 unguided rocket dispensers. It was also capable of carrying 7.04 pounds, which is 3,190 kilograms of weapons, including conventional bombs, or it could store a Mark 7 nuclear bomb, a Mark 28 nuclear, a Mark 38 nuclear, or a Mark 43 nuclear. The MiG's armament. The MiG had 3 30mm Nundelmann Richter NR30 autocannons, 75, which is 75 rounds for wing root guns, 55 rounds for the fuselage gun. That is very little. It had 4 hardpoint underwing pylons with a capability of up to 500 kilograms, which is 1,100 pounds, of stores and provisions to carry a combination of rockets and or bombs. And when it carried rockets, it could carry 2 ORO-57K rocket pods with 4 S5 rockets each, or it could carry 2 250 kilograms, which is also 550 pounds of bombs. Now, so The Javelin, I don't think it will be that great. And I've seen a Javelin in real life before, although it's a delta wing, and I know that delta wings are extremely maneuverable, but the Javelin's wings are really thick. So the roll rate is going to be terrible, but it will, and that's basically the norm for most British jets, it will generate a lot of lift. So it will do very well in cornering. But I think the MiG might actually give it a run for its money. And once again, the MiG is the fastest one of them all, with the best climb rate as well. So obviously the dominant aircraft of the three will be the MiG. Okay, so get someone on your 6 with a MiG and no one's going to catch you. Okay, you don't even have to bother to turn. If anyone is going to try and force you into a turn fight while you are flying the MiG, all you have to do is just drop your nose and you'll be able to get away. If the specs are going to accurate on War Thunder, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure in time it's going to be. Alright. So just to go through a few other things as well, one thing that I didn't discuss was the engines. Okay, so the MiG came with two Tumansky RD9B turbojet engines with afterburner developing 7,160 pounds of thrust, which is, and 5,730 pounds is dry. So meaning 5,730 pounds is without the afterburner, and with the afterburner it will generate 7,160 pounds. Then we look at the Sabre. It had one Pratt & Whitney engine, one Pratt & Whitney J57-521 turbojet engine with afterburner developing 17,000 pounds of thrust for that one engine. That is crazy. Looking at the Javelin, it had two Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire 6 turbojet engines developing 8,000 pounds of thrust each. So in total you had 16,000 pounds, whereas with the MiG you have 7,160,000 pounds, but the specifications doesn't say whether it's per engine or whether it's both. But looking at the top speed of the MiG, it's probably both, and also the climb rate. I mean, the climb rate is just insane. 35,000 feet per minute, or 10,000 meters per minute. Okay, and the Sabre is 4,800 meters per minute. The Gloucester Javelin is 1,647 meters per minute. That is very slow compared to the other two. So obviously with this will be a lot of other changes, or War Thunder will have to apply a lot of other changes, and we can already see a few problems here coming, but I'm not going to be negative about it. I'm not going to give negative opinions or rant or anything, but I am very confident that War Thunder has thought this through before they started even developing the aircraft. And a few problems that I can think about is, first of all, the maps are really small. I mean, the maps can get small now already with the jets that we have. So I am sure that some of the maps, you'll have specific maps for the tier 6 jets alone. Whether or not they'll be able to fly in realistic battles, in a combination battle between ground forces and air forces, I don't know. But it will be pretty awesome. So that's the one thing. The second thing is the radars. Now, it should be quite obvious how War Thunder will imply the radars when you're doing realistic battles, although that's not really my field of interest. So I can only assume that you'll have a little extra screen on the side next, almost more or less the same as your compass to the right, which will be your radar, and then whatever next to your pipper on the screen, to lock your target and keep it tracking. What's going to be interesting is how they will imply this in the simulator battle. So I'm really looking forward to see what they're coming up with. I do have experience in other flight simulators as well, which is not as arcadistic as arcade, if I can put it that way, as War Thunder, which is and far more realistic. Okay, so and the radars and everything is implied properly. Now, with the real jets in real life, you were able to scan with the radar left and right, up and down. Will you be able to do that in War Thunder? I don't know. Will it be a fixed radar pointing forward? I don't know either. And I also do know that earlier radars weren't as efficient yet. I mean, this is all new technology that came with the aircraft. So there's a lot of problems that these radars had, especially towards ground clutter. And so that would basically mean that if your nose is pointing down towards an enemy that's below you, you might actually lose him quite easy, or you will find it difficult to have a lock. Or previously, some of the radars were able to detect an enemy while the enemy is more or less out of sight. Let's say 80 nautical miles away. So, but the problem is, if they were out of sight and low down and you are up high, you won't be able to see them with the radar because of the ground clutter. And also, some of the heat-seeking missiles, or the long-range missiles, maybe this is now the future, were also interfered by ground clutter. So if someone had a lock on you and you know there's a missile coming through and your aircraft or your defensive warning systems are warning you or giving you a warning, then you would basically point your nose down and dive to the ground and decrease your chances of being hit. But never mind, we'll see what War Thunder is coming up with. Then, what about, I mean, obviously these three jets are just the beginning. Okay, so if we look at just a few aircraft that was developed, talking about now specifically the second generation. So, and I see what War Thunder has done. So all three of these aircraft were initially developed or test flighted in 1953. Okay. So we can then basically look forward to the next few updates, and the tree will then be more or less fairly predictable. So let's have a look at that quickly. Okay, so in 1953 we had the three aircrafts developed that's coming up in the new update. And obviously America is the leading nation with the most jets and the most developed aircraft. So in the same year, America also developed the F-102 Delta Dagger, and that is also another aircraft that I'm looking forward to. Also in 1953, obviously the F-100 Sabre. And do you want to tell me that's that? 1954, the F-11 Tiger. 1954 also the F-104, the Lockheed F-104 Starfighter, which I'm pretty sure is going to be some aircraft too. I know that aircraft was extremely maneuverable. and very, very small, but difficult to fly. 1954 also saw the F-101 Voodoo, and then in 1955 the F-8, the Vought F-8 Crusader. 1955 also saw the F-105 Thunder Chief, and then we moved down to up to 1956 the F-106 Delta Dart, and then 1959 was the F-5 Freedom Fighter. That is also another jet to look forward to. So I think War Thunder for now is going to stick to Generation 2 fighters. Generation 3 fighters will then see the F4 Phantom, etc, etc. Then the British in 1953 developed obviously the Gloucester Javelin. 1954 they had the English Electric Lightning, which I know there's some people that's looking forward to that. And then 1955 they saw the Gnat, which was a training aircraft for a very, very long time. And then 1956 saw the Supermarine Schmidt. Then 1955 from France saw the Dassault Super Mystery. 1958 saw the Dassault Étendard 4, and 1956 saw the Dassault Mirage 3. And then 1967, now this is still Generation 2 though, 1967 saw the Dassault Mirage 5. Now the Mirages are going to be a big hit in War Thunder. I'm telling you guys now, that aircraft is amazing. I'm talking from experience now. Right, so Soviet Union 1953 obviously saw the MiG-19. 1955 later the MiG-21. And 1955 also saw the Su-7. 1956 saw the Su-9. 1958 saw the J6 or the that's Japanese, sorry. The Secure. No, it's not Japanese. What are you talking about, Rusty? So now what's going to be interesting is to see what's happening with the bombers. I mean, the attackers are we all know the type of attackers that was out there in the history, but the bombers are going to be extremely, extremely interesting. As a matter of fact, as up to date with aviation, the bombers has kind of died down. You don't have the B-29s anymore that can cause mass destruction with one bomb load, and the Tu-4s with 30mm defensive cannons and also very destructive bomb load. Those type of things are all part of the past. So I'm confident that we'll now start to see jet propelled bombers in the game as well. But I think at the end of the day we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Oh, and last thing, 1976 from the UK saw the Hawker Siddeley Harrier. So that's actually vertical takeoff and landing aircraft that was developed that time already, and a second generation. So that might also be something to look out for. And in 1971 also second generation saw the Yakovlev Yak-38, which is also VTOL or vertical takeoff and landing. Alright. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions or any comments or whatever the case might be, leave it at the bottom and I'll try and get back to you. And you can subscribe to my channel if you want to. I think there might be a few interesting things coming up. I do have a lot in pipeline. This will be actually the first video that's going to be live, but it's not the first video that I recorded. I've recorded 3 videos already of dogfights, and Just keep in mind that I only do VR and I only do simulator battles. Right, cheers, thank you for watching and have a good day.